following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here. Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. Celebrate! Our Washington Commanders are 2-0 after collectively dragging their asses across the finish line. Again, for the second consecutive week, this time 35-33 on the road against the Denver Broncos, a place they hadn't won in ages. Excellent comeback, down 21-3. Somehow Washington goes on a 32-6 run to close the game and wins this thing. What felt like going away until the Hail Mary in that final possession. They had opportunities to get off the field and couldn't do it, but that's nor here nor there. Lots to clean up. Far from a finished product. And some of this is the Broncos just not taking advantage of opportunities. We talked about a lot of those on the overtime and the post-game show. But at the end of the day, all you can do is control what you can control. And Washington forced errors. They forced some third down misses. And they forced the action. And that's what you want to do in this league, is you want to force the opponent to make plays. And we forced them to do that, and they didn't make enough of them. And so we're 2-0. And I gave keys to the game. Keys to winning this football game. Let's see how Washington fared in that department. So we start on offense. Keys to victory on offense started with established balance and O-line stability. I gave us a half point for this because I thought there was balance, even though I thought it was heavy on pass early. Even still with that, I felt like there was balance. And it never felt like week one where it felt overwhelmingly slanted towards Sam and being pass happy. There felt like a balance, especially once we got it rolling. Early in the game, it felt very slanted towards pass. But again, it never felt like it was out of whack like it did in week one versus Arizona. And obviously, O-line stability, there still are issues. It's leaky at times. Both tackles were beaten. Both tackles gave up big pressures. And so drives were ended or stalled, or, field goals were forced to be taken from longer distances because of sacks that were given up by quick pressures from the tackles. So you force a fumble on the right side, you get a sack off the left side. We got to fix these things. We got to clean them up. The Broncos helped us out. There were a couple of third downs and long situations where we end up getting first downs via Bronco penalties, whether it's legal contact, holding down the field, or whatever the case may be. But we were in long down and distances because Sam was sacked, or whatever the case, or he got sacked on that play, but because the Broncos had a face mask, on Sam, or the Broncos had a legal contact down the field, the Broncos had holding down the field, we were able to sustain a drive that had no business being sustained. So there's still some things to clean up on the offensive line, but I really liked what I saw in the run game from this offensive line. I loved what I saw from the offensive line in the screen game, even though there was one screen in particular that I thought had more meat on the bone that could have easily gone for a touchdown if those two guys get a body on a body, but that's nor here nor there. The bottom line was they were outstanding in the screen game. And I thought they did some good things in pass pro as well. So half point for established balance and O-line stability. They can be better in both of those departments, but they were good enough in this game to help get it done. Handle the environment. I thought I gave Washington a full point for this one. I thought they did this tremendously well. Honestly, I thought they came out, received the opening kickoff, and just like it was against Arizona, a well-constructed opening drive that unfortunately resulted in no points. Just like against Arizona, where we move the football and then mistakes get us. Sam was sacked, and partially that's his fault. You roll out, and you're still setting up shop. There's nothing there, and he takes a sack. It pushes you back, and then you miss the field goal. And I still haven't seen that snap, by the way. Like the full copy doesn't show you the snap. Obviously, the cut-ups don't show you the snap. I still haven't seen the snap. I probably won't see it until the all-22s. I still don't know what Cam Cheeseman actually did on this snap, but clearly it was a snap that wasn't ideal. So, and I think I saw the laces facing the wrong way. So that tells me that Tress didn't have a chance to catch it cleanly, turn it around, slant it the way Joey likes it. So obviously the snap was off. Just how bad? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a clean shot of that yet. But again, I'll see it eventually, even if it takes me until the all 22s are available. But nonetheless, thought we handled the environment. Came out, moved the football. We made some mistakes, but we remained resolute in our ability to overcome adversity. I never felt like the environment was swallowing us up, even though we struggled for a little stretch there when it started to feel like it was getting away from us. We never panicked. They never looked like they were panicking, and we were able to overcome the big deficit that we put ourselves in. You don't want to do that every week. You don't want to start slow like we have the first 2 weeks of the season, because again, against better competition, and we're going to have that the next 2 weeks, you may not have an opportunity to come on all the way back and win. So they're going to have to be better, but I thought they handled the environment. For Sam's first road start, I thought he looked just as poised as he always does, and feel really good about their ability to do that. The next key offensively to victory was explosives and get the wide receivers going. And I gave them a full point for this. The explosives were big in this game. Getting chunk plays are huge. One of the complaints I had last week from the running back position in particular was we just don't get enough from that position. We don't get enough big plays from that position. Whether it's a screen, whether it's a running play, my biggest gripe was the run game and not getting explosives out of that. Well, I cried about it, and guess what I got? I got results, okay? So maybe I need to cry a little bit more, because I cried about lack of explosiveness from the run game. Brian Robinson delivered a big run. It was his biggest run of his career to this point. He also had a couple of big screens. Antonio Gibson had a massive screen in the screen game as well. Terry, obviously, with the 30-yard touchdown. What a throw from Sam. John Bates up the sideline, honey hole shot. Huge play to set up the field goal before the half. So there were explosive plays all over the place for this Washington offense. And that's how you score touchdowns. It's hard to sustain. You saw the first drive last week against Arizona. You saw the first drive in this game. It's hard to sustain offense without making a mistake. It's not impossible. It's just hard. Holding penalties happen. Batted balls, and we've seen that with Sam the first 2 weeks of the season. Batted balls happen. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you got to go 12 plays, 75 yards. That's hard to do without something going awry. So the best way, the most efficient way to ensure that you get points, specifically touchdowns, is to get explosive plays. It shortens the amount of opportunities that you need to get in the end zone. And it also shortens the amount of times you have an opportunity to do something wrong, to mess the drive up. So the explosive plays were huge in this game. They were massive. And there were a bunch of them. So, and getting the receivers going, I still think there's work to be done there. We still haven't had that breakout game from any of our receivers, but I like the fact that we're spreading the ball around. Sam hit 10 different targets in this game. Probably 5 of them were receivers. Curtis Samuel had a nice catch over the middle of the field. Terry, obviously, the big touchdown. Jahan, had a nice catch on the first possession of the game. He really never got going in this game in particular, but still, he was able to have a little bit of an impact. I thought Diami was very impactful. I think he had 3 or 4 catches in this game. Early on, he got it going, had a nice little slant on a catch on a ball that was behind him that helped set up a touchdown. So I thought Diami was impactful. Even Byron Pringle got in the action, caught a little shallow cross and did his job. So I thought the receivers got involved in this game. And as I mentioned already, it's good to get a lot of different guys involved. Logan Thomas with the touchdown. Cole Turner with a couple of big catches. John Bates with 3 catches and a big one to set up the field goal before the half. The running backs were huge in catching the football in this game. So just to see how many guys were able to contribute, you like to see it. I thought we did a really good job there. Explosives and getting the wide receivers going. I think we can do a better job of getting the receivers going, getting them more opportunities, having more explosive plays, but we're starting to tap into that. I thought it was a good job Full point there. And then protect the Duke, which is so important. It's so vital for this team. When we don't turn it over, we're dangerous. When we win the turnover battle, we're even more dangerous. So produced 2 turnovers of the Broncos. We didn't turn it over at all, and that really was the difference in the game. Broncos turned it over. We didn't. Those turnovers led to points. It led to momentum swings. Obviously, the Jamin Davis one I thought was the momentum swing of the game. You know, we were dead in the water, down 21-3, and we had no answers for the Broncos offense at that point. And Jamin Davis forces the fumble, and everything kind of changes at that moment. We go down, we get the touchdown, we get the 2-point conversion, we get a stop, we get the ball back, you get the field goal, and it's 21-14 at half, and just like that, you're right back in the game that you were being destroyed in just 8 minutes ago, right? So what a turn of events. Turnovers can do that. I call it the great equalizer for a reason, and so we got a full point there for protecting the Duke in this ball game. You go to the defensive side of the football, and the first thing that I talked about, it was the thing that I talked about the most last week, was no explosives. I said the Broncos were going to put an emphasis on taking shots down the field and getting chunk plays because they didn't get any the week before against Vegas. And what happened? Right out of the gate, they got explosive plays on us. Whether it's via the run game or the pass game, which was just abysmal early. Marvin Mims Jr., a deep ball for the touchdown. Marvin Mims Jr., a deep ball against Emmanuel Forbes to set up their, I think that was their 3rd touchdown of the game. Marvin Mims Jr. in the punt return game set up a opportunity for them. They ultimately did not get any points out of that drive, luckily enough, because of some self-destructive behavior. But without a holding penalty that derailed that drive, they would have gotten probably points out of that drive. I specifically talked about no explosives, and right away we gave up explosive plays in the past game. It was disgusting to watch. Obviously, we get no credit for that. We have to be better moving forward. You cannot give up explosive plays against dynamic offenses, or else you will lose the football game. We got away with this one, but it may not be the case the next time, and we may not be that lucky against a team, say, like Buffalo in week number 3. You have to be better again. You think teams aren't going to try to attack us like this again now, having seen it on film and seen how effective it was? You don't think they're going to come back to that? We've got to be better. We have to be better. Slow the run game and contain Russ. So this was a full point because they got off to a really good start. That first possession, it looked like it was going to be a long day in the run defense department. And then after that, we pretty much put the clamps down on Javonte Williams and the rest of those backs, slowed them down, and really made it the Russell Wilson show, essentially. And then him getting out of the pocket was problematic. They had a nice little run, early on in the game. I think it was maybe the first possession, if not the first, the second. But it was a beautifully designed play. I want to say it was the first possession where they got motion coming across. They faked the read option, and then Russ gets a pulling tight end coming across the formation, which acts as a lead blocker, and Russ just follows them. And it's a great design. It's a great play. It's executed well. But outside of that, we pretty much did a good job of containing Russ as a runner, kept him in the pocket, sacked him 6 times. Obviously, we were all over him. Cam Curl with a huge tackle late in the game, even though they still ended up getting the Hail Mary, keeping them in bounds. That's the kind of stuff that you have to do. We did a good job. We get a full point there, slowing the run game and containing Russ as a runner. Continue to get off the field on third downs. I've talked about how good the Broncos were the week prior against Vegas in the third down department, going 5 of 11 against Vegas in week 1. That's our MO. That's the thing that we do well. We get the opposition off the field on third downs, and that continued in this game. Broncos were 4 of 12 in this game, which equals out to 33%, if I'm not mistaken. So that is excellent defense on third downs, which is what we do. It is our calling card, and we executed again. And again, if you're going to win games, it wasn't pretty. We gave up explosive plays. We got a lot to clean up. And some of those third downs could have even been converted. Like I talked about with the Jerry Jeudy play, if that's a better ball from Russ, that's a conversion, and it's not even close, right? There were opportunities for the Broncos to convert more third downs, and they just missed. That's not our problem. That's theirs. We did our job. I told you, it's not always skill on third down. Sometimes it's luck. We got a lot of it last year, and there are plenty of instances last year that I can point to where we got lucky on a third down, where it really wasn't anything that we did per se, but more about what the other team didn't do. That's a great example right there. In this particular game, it wasn't anything that we did. We gave up a wide open third down completion that would have been, he could have walked for the first down, but Russ throws a bad ball behind him. He's got to go down to catch it. He tries to get up. Two defenders converge, and he's short of the sticks. They got to punt. We didn't do anything right there, okay? That was everything they didn't do, but again, we get credit for it, and I'm not turning it down. So get a full point there. Continue to get off the field on third downs. That's what we're going to have to do if we're going to remain competitive on the defensive side of the football. And then finally, force field goals in the red zone. That's an area that we have to tighten up and get better in. I gave us half point there. The Broncos were 2 of 4 in the red zone in this game, which is huge. Not giving up touchdowns on those other 2 possessions help preserve the victory, obviously. But and that was a huge stop, up 11. Broncos get all the way down inside the 5. You get the Chase Young, and Montez. I think Sweat gets the sack first, then Chase jumps off sides, gives them right back the sack yards. And then you get a couple of stops. Russ misses an open tight end, throws a 99-mile-an-hour fastball out of his reach. And then he gets sacked on a combination of Sweat and Young. That's the great picture. That's almost an iconic picture of those two, getting in each other's face, showing love. And Russ is sitting right there in between them as they converge on the quarterback. That's a hell of a, if they get a touchdown there and they get that same Hail Mary, we lose the game, right? So, those were huge. That's a huge stop. But they scored twice in the red zone on 4 opportunities. That's 50%. That's still too much for my liking. And so while it saved us, what really ultimately saved us was our ability to score in the red zone. We went 3 of 3 in the red zone. They went 2 of 4. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do, Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. We scored touchdowns. They kicked field goals. We win the game, right? So we did our job, but we only did it halfway. But it was good enough, as I said earlier, good enough to get the job done. But we can be even better. Like the first touchdown, that's way too easy. They throw a simple toss out to the running back. He walks in untouched. We got to be better in the red zone. They throw a shallow cross. Cody Barton, kind of in no man's land because there's so much action at him. There's a guy behind him. There's a guy right in front of him. And he kind of gets caught up. By the time he sees that shallow cross coming his direction and tries to get to it, it's too late. He runs by him into the end zone. Touchdown. We got to be better in the red zone. But we got it done twice, including the 2-point conversion. And so get half credit for that. So when it's all said and done, we had an opportunity for 8 points. And we got 6 out of 8. If you can get 6 out of 8 on a weekly basis, you're going to win a lot of football games. Okay. Hence the victory here, 35-33, and what really probably should have been 35-27, right? But that's nor here nor there. We gave up the Hail Mary. You can't afford to do that. We got to get better on Hail Marys too. Like Ron tried to just make it seem like it was just a lucky bounce, and no, guys are trying to catch the ball instead of batting it down. Go look at that replay of the Hail Mary. Tell me what the hell is Defoe doing? What are you doing, bro? Knock it down. Like the thing skips off of his face because he's trying to catch it. Knock it down. Right? The rookie's greedy. He wants another pick. Knock it down. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to in other news. So we heard from head coach Ron Rivera on Victory Monday. We'll talk about what he had to say. We got the snap counts. We'll take a look at that. We also have to go around the NFC East, so we'll do that as well. So a few items to attend to. Let's take a look at the snap count real quick before we talk about what Ron Rivera had to say. And so offensively, there were 73 snaps for the Commanders. And one of these days, we're going to get Sam Cosmi to play all 100% of the snaps. Everybody else is doing it on the offensive line. This is the second week in a row he hasn't been able to do it. We're getting close though. Last week I think he was like at 92% or something like that. This week we're at 99. He only missed one snap. We're gonna get there. All right, we're trending in the right direction. But the rest of the offensive line and Sam Howell obviously all played the entirety of the game offensively. Jahan Dotson led all receivers with 62 snaps on the field for 85%. McLaurin, 74% of the snaps, 54 snaps. Curtis Samuel, 45 snaps, 62%. John Bates, 52% of the snaps in this game. And obviously the uptick in his usage rate was probably due to Logan Thomas being out of the game pretty much at halftime. We're going to talk about that a little bit too here in a second. But Brian Robinson Jr., same amount of snaps as John Bates, 38 for 52% of the snaps. Antonio Gibson sees an uptick in snaps this week, 35. So he almost played half of this game, 48%. Logan Thomas, obviously, the headshot that knocked him out of the game limited the amount of snaps. He played 29 of the 73 snaps for 40%. Cole Turner sees an uptick. Remember, I was complaining about his snap rate and his usage rate last week. I said he was down somewhere in the 20s. I said I need him to be up in the 30s. We got him up into the 30s. I think some of that, though, is a byproduct of, and again, I didn't want to see it happen in this manner, but I think that's only a byproduct of Logan Thomas getting injured and everybody just getting bumped up and getting more opportunities. Snaps that would have gone to maybe Bates and Logan Thomas went to Bates and Cole Turner now because there was no Logan. So again, 23 snaps, 32%. And again, I think he could play a little bit more, honestly, but we'll see. De'Ami Brown, a little bit more usage this week, 23 snaps. And I thought he earned more reps, right? He caught the ball well. Every opportunity he got, I thought he took advantage of it. So 32% for him. Byron Pringle, 13 snaps, so uptick for him, 18%. Mitchell Tinsley, 4 snaps. Chris Rodriguez Jr., or 3 snaps for Mitchell Tinsley, 4%. Chris Rodriguez, 2 snaps, 3%. And Ricky Stromberg got in there. That's the one place Sam Cosmi came out, 1% for him. So let's get to the defensive side of football. 66 total snaps defensively. Cody Barton, Benjamin St. Juste, Derek Forrest, Cam Curl, Kendall Fuller all played the entire game defensively. So those are the guys that they feel like are invaluable defensively and just simply can't come off the field. That's what that says. So because Juice is either in the slot or he's out wide, but he's not coming off the field. And we know Kendall Fuller's staying out wide. So they're telling you who they feel like are guys that just have to be on the field right now. John Allen, 57 snaps, led all defensive linemen with 86%. Deron Payne, 51 snaps for 77%. Montez Sweat, 48 snaps, 73%. Chase Young, 47 snaps. A lot of snaps for his first game back this season, 71%. So he was right there with his running mate on the opposite side. Manuel Forbes Jr., 44 snaps for 67%. I think that's a little bit of an uptick for him from last week. Jamin Davis, 41 snaps, 62%. I think that's an uptick for him as well. Huge play with the forced fumble. Percival Butler, 31 snaps, 47%. He's playing a lot more. We're seeing a lot of 35 out there, including the second touchdown given up. That's Percival Butler getting cooked on a deep over route, or it really looked like a deep post. But whatever the case may be, he had 47% of the snaps. Abdullah Anderson played a lot, and he's going to be a guy that plays until we get Vidarian Mathis back. He's going to be, getting a lot of the reps. 21 snaps for him, 32%. James Smith-Williams, 21 for him as well, 32%. John Ridgeway, I thought he had a solid game. I really did. 19 snaps for him, 29%. And Casey Toohill, 16 snaps for 24%. So like last week, does anything stand out here for you? Anybody getting too many reps? Anybody need less? Anybody need more? Offensively, defensively? Leave it down in the comment section. So let's get back to in other news, where we find ourselves talking about Ron Rivera. And I want to talk about some of the decisions that he made in this game. I thought he was aggressive. All right. I thought he was aggressive, and I like that demeanor from Ron. Like, he's gotten this nickname Riverboat Ron, and we saw what he did in the Giants game, the second one on Sunday Night Football, where he clammed up. And I thought the Giants came in there with the mentality of we're playing to win, not to lose. And we play with a mentality of trying not to lose instead of to win. And so in this particular game, and I think when you have a quarterback you believe in, there's more of that philosophy in him. And maybe this is Eric Bieniemy rubbing off on him. I don't know. But Ron was a riverboat gambler initially, and then he kind of scaled it back. And I guess when you have Taylor Heineke and, Carson Wentz and maybe you start dialing some of that stuff back. But they believe in Sam. Now, they still show that, there's some things that they don't believe in. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But going forward on that fourth down when it's 21-3, they could have taken the points, right? They could have taken the points, made it a 15-point game. That's a 2-score game at 21-6. But they said no. We're all the way at the 4-yard line. We're not kicking a field goal. That's a huge decision. If that's incomplete and you get nothing there, you're right back to square one. You're right back to 21-3 with no momentum. For them to not only say, no, we're going for it, but we're going to put the ball in the hands of our, second-year quarterback making his third career start and the first one on the road, that shows a lot of confidence, right? How about the 59-yard field goal attempt? Yeah, it was no good, and it could have flipped not only the field position, but the momentum in the game. Broncos ultimately took the lead after that miss and made it 24-21, I believe. But how about the Stones to say no? We know Joey Sly's got the leg. Go kick it. I love it. Even after he missed, I don't give a shit. I love the fact that he didn't punt. Be aggressive. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. All gas, no brakes. Speaking of which, my guy Derek B continues to harp on the fact that we are not ending games on offense. We had a chance to do it against Arizona. Obviously, we ran, and gave it back to Arizona. And, they with limited time, and the defense shut the door. Had a chance to, end the game with a first down or, touchdown, whatever you want to call it in week one. And they just decided to run. This opportunity, you're up 11. They get the field goal. You're up 8. They got 2 timeouts. If you run it 3 times, it's going to be less than a minute to go in the game, and they're going to have to drive the length of the field and get a 2-point conversion. Highly unlikely. However, I think the next evolution of this offense and the confidence in Sam, furthermore, is saying, hey, go win us the game. Like, let's not even explore the other team touching the ball here. You got to be in a position where you trust your quarterback to make a smart decision, whether that means eating a sack, safe throws, whatever. You got to trust that your quarterback's going to make sure that this ball is complete or it stays in bounds at a bare minimum, even if it requires him to take a sack. So that the clock continues to run or the other team has to burn one of their timeouts. But they're not there with Sam yet. They don't trust him to not do something crazy or even have a penalty happen, a holding penalty, something like that. So the next evolution of the offense is when we have a shot to close the team out, you trust your quarterback enough. And we're not there yet, clearly. But that's the next evolution of the offense is you got a team, down and out. You got a chance to close them out. They're on the ropes, and the referee's ready to jump in and stop this thing. We got to go for the kill, right? We got to go in there and continue to land heavy shots and make the referee, jump in there and say, all right, this thing's over. Instead of allowing that fighter to lay on the ropes, tie us up, and weather the storm and get to the corner and allow that bell to ring and give them another chance to come out and fight in the next round, right? So that's the next evolution of this offense, but I like the aggressiveness of Ron Rivera. So he kind of talked about that a little bit after the game and even, on Monday. He talked about Cam Cheeseman, right? And I remember I wasn't happy with his answer last week when it came to Cam Cheeseman. He pretty much said, until something happens where it costs us, we're not going to do anything. And I'm like, that's not what I want to hear. You need to be proactive. You should have been trying out long snappers last week after the Arizona game because he did have snaps that, could have went awry. But luckily enough for us, we got one of the best holders in the league in Tress Way. So he cleaned up some of those messes. But clearly the first snap was off. I still haven't seen it, but That kick wasn't even close from Joey Slye. And you don't have to love Joey Slye, but he doesn't miss that bad, okay? That was horrible. Something went awry there. And I told you, if I saw it correctly, it looked like the laces were facing, it looked like Joey kicked the laces. That's why that ball never stood a chance, okay? So, they finally admitted, hey, we got to do something. So they brought in 5 long snappers today, but they're going to stick with Cam Cheeseman. None of them were signed. I think all they were doing today was exploring other options, seeing what's out there. Because, I mean, what are we really doing here, right? They're long snappers. All you got to be able to do is snap the damn ball back to the center or to the holder, or snap it to Tressway on punts. Like, literally, that's all you have to do. And it's not like we're looking for agility and guys that come in here and run a 4.7, show me what you got, right? No. So they just want to know which one of these 5 guys, should something happen with Cam Cheeseman, can we have him on speed dial, right? That's pretty much what today was about. Didn't sign anybody. Push comes to shove. They don't want to release anybody from the practice squad if they don't have to. It's easy to just hit the number 7. And the guy that you really like is back here in Washington and signed up. And you get rid of somebody off of the practice squad, right? So they're not going to sign anybody. But that all that was for show. That's pop, 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 pop. Warning shots to Cam Cheeseman. Bro, get your shit together. Like, we don't want to have to do this. We drafted you, bro. We traded up to draft you. We don't want to have to take you out back and pop, pop, put 2 in the dome. Damn. We ain't even want to do our man like that. But, hey, bro, we getting into some critical shit now. We're getting into a period where you're starting to cost us points. We could have scored 40 in this game. Okay? We could have scored potentially 40 points in this game. Not that you had anything to do with the second miss, right? But the first one definitely had something to do with the snap. So, again, that's something to keep an eye on. They did bring in 5 long snappers. None of them were signed today. But, again, Cam Cheeseman's on high alert. All right, so we'll see what happens with that situation. Ron talked about Sam and some of the good, some of the not so good. They still want to see him make quicker decisions with the football, not take some of the sacks he took. I agree wholeheartedly. There's still, some things to iron out, but all in all, Sam made some baller throws. Sam stood tall in the pocket, delivered the rock. There's a play early in the game. I want to say it's the pass to Jahan Dotson, where he stands in there. He gets dumped, scooped and dumped by the defensive tackle, stands in there like a grown-ass man and delivers a dime to Jahan Dotson. Like, Sam's legit. He's the truth. And so he played really well. That throw to Terry, as I mentioned, the throw to Logan is a big-time throw. The throw up the sideline to John Bates, are you kidding me? Like, these are some baller throws. These are adult throws. So he played really well. He handled the elements. The crowd noise. That's a good Broncos defense. Despite us carving them up, really good Broncos defense. Don't want to dismiss that. He did what he needed to do in this game. He talked about the defense getting off to a slow start, needing to be better, blown assignments, giving up explosives, having to be better there. Talked about Chase Young and, him getting that monkey off of his back, getting the sack and a half, equaling his total from the last 2 years, essentially. And so that's behind him now. Because everyone's sick of hearing about that shit. So I'm glad he knocked that out of the park. Now he can just go play ball. He talked about how anxious he was to get on the field and, how good it is to just have him back. I told you this defense isn't complete without Chase. So now you feel like we got a chance to really do damage to teams because you got to not only worry about the Bama wall inside, not only about Montez Sweat, who has 3 sacks on the season now, but now you got to worry about Chase Young on the opposite side. And wait till we get F.A. Obata back in this mix. Wait till we get Fedarian Mathis back. This defensive line is going to be even more stout and stellar. And at the point of attack, they're going to be even more dangerous. When you take somebody off the field at defensive end, you still got F.A. coming in who can be dynamic at times. So this defense has a ways to go, clearly. But the defensive line makes up for some of the deficiencies on the back end because there were open receivers in this game. There were opportunities for Denver. And They just weren't able to get to it because Russ was under siege. So um, you love to see it. You love to see some of the things that we were able to create in this game. So Ron talked about all of those things. Um, let's talk about the NFC East. Let's take a quick trip around the division, shall we? So all four teams in the division won. Washington took care of business. So let's start with Thursday night football. Philadelphia Eagles in a sloppy affair. I mean, both teams really did everything in their power to probably lose this game, but the Vikings did more to lose this game, and unfortunately, they did 34-28. But the Eagles do not look the same. They do not look like the same Philadelphia Eagles team. However, even with all the mistakes, they still scored 34 points, and DeAndre Swift looked damn good, and Devontae Smith looks like a problem. Now, there was another problem in the game. Their star receiver AJ Brown, like I talked about in the playoff game, and I got chastised by Eagles fans when I called him selfish when they're blowing out the Giants and he's pouting on the sidelines because he hasn't touched the ball yet. He got in the face of his quarterback Jalen Hurts wanting the football. Like, that's the shit I'm so glad we don't have to deal with in Washington. That's that diva shit, right? Your team is up. They were up, I want to say 27-7 at that point, and he's bitching and complaining about not getting the rock. It might have been 27-14 at that time, and he's getting in the quarterback's face. Yeah, right, bro. What are we doing right now? And of course, on the next possession, they go out of their way to get him the ball. He catches a touchdown. They call some penalty that negates it. They throw him another pass. He catches that, but it's not enough for a first down or whatever. But they went out of their way to get him targets and throw him the football. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But I love it. That's not our problem. That's their problem. So they got to force feed this dude or else he's going to get pissed off, right? Even if they're winning big. So they got issues in Philadelphia, but DeAndre Swift isn't one of them. If he's healthy, that's going to be problematic. He looked so good in that game. But that Eagles offense doesn't look the same like it did last year. Hurts had a turnover in this game. That's the second week in a row he's had at least one turnover. That offense sputtered at times, and they turned it over, right? They had some mistakes. And if not for the Vikings just being self-destructive, even with all their mistakes, they scored 28 points on this vaunted Eagles defense. So, again, I think there are chinks in that Eagles armor. We'll see what happens this week, but they got the win, and that's the most important part. They're 2-0, and they travel to Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. And this is the second year in a row that they've won on a Thursday night and then have to go the following week on a Monday night. Now, last year, they went to Houston on a Thursday night, won, and then had a Monday night game against us and lost. We'll see if history repeats itself or not, but they're on the road at Tampa Bay on Monday night, who is a surprising 2-0 themselves. In the 1 o'clock, there were no 1 o'clock games. All NFC East teams were in action at 4 o'clock in the 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Starting with the Giants, 4:05 kickoff out in Arizona. It started off as bad as it could for the G-Men. They were down 20-0 in the first half of that game. The Giants not scoring in the first two quarters set a new record in the NFL for a team not scoring to start the season off. 6 quarters of scoreless ball for the Giants. At the point when they scored the touchdown to kind of kick off the second half, it almost was like, okay, you finally scored. What did he do, right? You're still getting your brains bashed in. And then the Cardinals responded to that touchdown immediately, scored, and got a 2-point conversion to make it 28-7. So you're thinking, oh, that's cute. You scored a little touchdown, but you're still getting your ass reamed. But then the comeback ensued, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. Pause. And before you know it, this game was tied, and the Cardinals felt all the pressure. And when you're not a good team, you hear footsteps. The minute the Giants scored that touchdown to make it 28-14, they probably started hearing footsteps. They started, doing things that they weren't doing in the first half, making mistakes that they weren't making, and all of a sudden, the Giants were able to come back and steal this game, 31-28. What a comeback! I mean, I don't know what that's going to do for the Giants season. They got to go on Thursday night, quick turnaround, probably without Saquon Barkley, who injured himself in this game, and I think he may be out for at least a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. They're saying it may not be as serious in terms of the hamstring. He slammed his helmet down, so he knew it was serious enough. He's not going to be ready. Quick turnaround on Thursday night. They played the 49ers, right? I don't expect them to win that game, but we'll see what happens. That's a big win for the Giants because they were down and out. And if you lose to Arizona on the road and you drop to 0-2, God bless and good night. Their season's done because you're not beating San Francisco the following week. Now with a little bit of momentum, we'll see what happens. The likelihood is they're not beating San Francisco on Thursday night, but they're not dead now. And, they've gone to San Francisco and won before. I'm not saying it's happened recently, but anything can happen. Stranger things have happened. But they are now at least breathing on their own. They were on life support with the aid of a machine. They're at least breathing on their own now. We'll see if the 49ers go over and start approaching the Giants in a manner that maybe forces them back onto the breathing machine. And we'll see what happens there. So they're 1-1 on the season now. The Dallas Cowboys took care of business. They've been the one team that has been not necessarily flawless, but as close as you can be to flawless to start the season off. They took care of the football for the most part. They did have a turnover in this game. And no, they didn't have any turnovers in this game. They could have. I think that Sauce Gardner should have had a pick 6. But outside of that, they gave up one big explosive play to Garrett Wilson. Their defense was just vicious. And right now, defensive MVP in the league resides in Dallas in Michael Parsons. This guy's just unblockable at this point. He's an animal, and it just changes how you have to play Dallas. You have to know where this guy is at all times, and you can't just block him with one guy. Like, that's the beauty of him, is you can move him around and ISO him on the back or ISO him on the tight end, because you have the ability with his athleticism to move him around and make it so that you can't double team him. So they're going to get one-on-ones with him, getting a one-on-one situation with a running back. That's a mismatch. They're going to get an ISO with him on a tight end. That's a mismatch. He's going to come looping around, and your guard or your center is going to be preoccupied. And by the time they come off of the guy that's pinching inside, they can't. He's too fast. He's a blur, and he gets by them just like he did against the Jets for the first sack of the game. He's right now, he seems impossible to deal with. But Dallas's offense, it's been solid. It's not earth-shattering. It's not blowing anybody away. What it looks like they're doing, it looks like they're protecting Dak Prescott. It looks like they're trying to make sure that he doesn't do anything stupid. It looks like a very conservative approach. This almost looks like an anti-Mike McCarthy offense. When they were in Green Bay and McCarthy was calling, they didn't run the football really. It was like, Aaron, take care of business. It's the opposite of that, almost as if they're trying to babysit Dak Prescott. It's almost comical to watch at this point, because it's like they're spoon-feeding a baby and this guy's a veteran, supposed to be one of the better quarterbacks, not just in the division, in the league, and it's almost like they're spoon-feeding him over here, right? Did he even throw a touchdown pass in this game? He probably did. I think he threw one to like Luke Schoonmaker or something. Let me look this thing up and see exactly what Dallas did, what Dak did in this game. I don't think he had a touchdown pass in the first game of the season. And not that touchdown passes are everything, but I don't think he was all like 38 of 31. He threw the ball 38 times for only 200 and had 31 completions, which is a crazy percentage, right? But for only 255 yards. Like, it's dink and dunk city. He did throw 2 touchdown passes, but if you complete damn near 80% of your passes and your QBR is 86 isn't bad, and your rating is 112, you would think with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, your rating would be through the roof, like almost perfect. And he's not even close, because he's only averaging 6.7 yards per attempt. Because, again, it's really like they're protecting him. Everything's short, bootlegs, safe throws. I'm not afraid of what I've seen. And some of that is the Jets defense. Got to give them credit. They're a good defense, and they wanted to be careful with how they were going to approach them. Because, again, Dak should have thrown a pick 6. Sauce Gardner should have sauced him up, and he didn't. But at the end of the day, Dallas took care of business 30-10. They were dominant for the second consecutive week. That's 70 points in 2 weeks, 70-10. They're dominating the competition right now. They get the Arizona Cardinals next week. They're going to be 3-0. They're going to dominate them. They're going to get to Josh Dobbs. They're going to bust him up. They're going to be a team that everybody's going to look at and say, wow, look at Dallas, because they're going to destroy Arizona in week 3. Well, meanwhile, everybody else in the division is going to be playing some tough games. You know, we got Buffalo this week. So we'll see what happens. But every team in the division won. Everybody's 2-0 except the Giants, who it avoided a destructive and season-ending loss in 0-2. They're now 1-1. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. Man, feels good to be 2-0 and sitting atop the division amongst the Eagles and Cowboys. But we got a tough one coming up. We're going to watch the film, kind of assess that, talk about it tomorrow on the live stream, and then we're going to turn the page to Buffalo, right? We're going to take our first look at them tomorrow, kind of get going on the Bills. They had a massive bounce back victory against the Raiders, and then we'll go from there. So with that said, man, what a win. Feeling really good about a lot of the things we did. I was going to tell you, there are a couple of guys that I really like right now. Somebody had, I thought, the best game of their career. But you'll get that on Dogs and Pups this week. Not Dogs and Cats. Dogs and Pups. But I thought a player on our team played the best game of his NFL career in this game. And a guy that nobody seems to like, I actually like him a lot. I'll talk about all those things and more on Dogs and Pups. So if you're a member of the MOBB, be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35.